Okay, picking up where we left off. Don't throw away tomorrow, living God's dream for your life. Chapter 5, page 82. Throughout dinner, my grandson regaled with us stories of the Navy's many rules, how they enforce them, and why they make them. His eyes were wide open as he stretched to sit upright, about to make a very important statement. They have very important rules, and there is a good reason for every rule. They make it loud and clear what the primary rules are. My friend Netta Armstrong, a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps and a faithful elder in the church, was sent to the Iraq conflict. When she returned home many months later, she gave me a 3x5 plastic card, and she said all military personnel were ordered to carry in the pockets of their uniform. The card gave specific rules of engagement for each person representing our country. Netta pointed out to me how the rules related specifically to treatment of civilians and enemy forces, with the order to respect their dignity at all times. In every one of life's missions, there are rules of engagement. This is true not just in the military, but also in academic, corporate, political, religious, and athletic worlds. Rules drafted, written, approved, communicated, interpreted, and enforced make up most of what is called governance in societies, national, regional, and local. In ancient Rome, as it struggled between republic and empire, Cicero declared, "Liberty without law will lead to anarchy, and liberty will not long be tolerated in an anarchy." That universal principle holds not only in democratic institutions, but in our private lives as well. How is your new class at school? I asked my 11-year-old granddaughter Paige. I like it, except there are so many rules, she said, scrunching her nose. School shouldn't have rules. Then it would be really fun, Grandpa. But you have rules in your family too, I reminded her. She was silent for a moment. But most of those are nice rules, and Daddy and Mom say that we have rules for Julia and me to keep us from getting hurt. So they're really rules of love. Yes, but Paige, do you remember when Governor Schwarzenegger visits us at church? He and Maria share the family rules they have in their home. One rule is that the television and telephone are turned off by 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. This provides talk time for the family, also protects your children from seeing lots of stuff on television they shouldn't see. I recall when physiological libertarians argued that little children and teenagers were being thwarted in the development of their personalities by rules that sifted their natural freedom to be creative. Human freedom should not be restricted, they argued, so long as no one is hurt. But this case was lost when a playground for young children was planned without fences. The play area was fresh and clean, with lawns, trees, climbing equipment, and swings. The absence of fences, it was imagined, would be emotionally healthier for the children. They will not feel oppressed, shut in, or locked in territory, supporters argued. But what happens when the children finally tested out of the playground surprised everyone. The children did not run free and fast from one end of the yard to the other. With that strong and certain boundary to set safe limits, they had to impose their own limits by inhibiting themselves. When the border fences were later installed, the children were actually liberated. They ran as fast as they could with open arms until they would fly to a safe stop, sometimes even crashing harmlessly into the chain link fence on the boundary line. Then educators were shown a video that further challenged their theories. It showed cars driving across high bridges with no guardrails over deep canyons. Fearful drivers drove their cars in the middle of the bridge. When the guardrails were installed, the drivers felt safe driving closer to the edge. How wrong the assumption about unrestricted freedom were. I have lived my life in a century of transition from rules to freedom. When I was a child, our rules were set forth by our religion. Roman Catholics and Protestants alike saw their role as one of the rule enforcement. Sermons reminded people of specific rules to curtail questionable private and public behavior. Boundaries were outlined and enforced. Violation of those narrow interpretations of boundaries were labeled sins. and with guilt sure to follow. Too often, the religious rules were narrow, strict, personal interpretations of biblical laws by religious leaders who formed their own negative opinions from certain Bible verses. The Main Street USA churches provided platforms to remind you that you were a sinner and admonish you to repent. This gave many religions an oppressive case and negative force that many people found too unpleasant to accept. Then I saw religion enter a major transition as theologians began to remove the fences and the boundaries. Religion, they declared, is meant to liberate, not enslave. So we must do away with all the rules. The church cannot, must not, dare not tell you what is or isn't sin. Leading seminary professors taught upcoming preachers. Today, religious institutions are downplaying, if not abandoning their role as conscious modelers, no longer are the primary rule shapers for moral and ethical behavior. Even the Bible is no longer universally accepted by all religious leaders as the final word of God. So pilgrims are left without a final authoritative book to be respected as a holy guide to establish rules and boundaries. Confusion reigns as we try to cope with moral and ethical problems more complicated than ever before. The result? A ruleless and rootless society is in danger of becoming a ruthless society. That's a tomorrow nobody wants. We need to become a society led by a renewal of a moral and ethical conscience in our leaders, in religion, science, politics, and education. I submit that it is up to the individual and their families to develop a strong private conscience to guide them. In a world of cultural complexity and confusion, every individual and every institution must cultivate a strong and sensitive conscience to write the rules to be followed in carrying out their mission statement. My grandson, Ethan Milner, attended the summer football camp held by his secular high school athletic department. They really had some strong rules, Grandpa, he told me. Respect your own body and respect the bodies of others was the first rule. How do you do this? The coaches asked. The players answered. Say no to substance abuse, no to alcohol, drugs, tobacco, and pornography. Say yes to exercise and healthful diet. Say yes to discipline. Yes, you need to decide what kind of a person you want to become. Then you need to decide what kind of rules you will set the boundaries and aspire the standards by which you will achieve your moral, ethical, and spiritual goals. The rules must define and describe how your dream contributes to self-respect and pride of a personhood for all who are in the dream. Whatever your dream, human dignity must be the highest value. The bottom line of all missions must be, what kind of persons do we shape and create in our enterprise? But where can you look for the foundation and formation of a conscience that will put and keep you on the positive path to high ethics and morality? Surely not in a secular culture where there are no rules, where anything goes, the conscience goes. We find graduate students, pre-med, law, and other disciplines cheating on the final exams that will grant them a degree for their chosen career. In mass communications, we often find the truth buried, forgotten, or twisted through sound bites, certain adjectives, or a sentence taken out of context, ruining reputations and destroying careers and families. Plagiarism in journalism is in danger of becoming a common occurrence, and the internet runs amok with half-truths and false innuendos. There are financial reports of reputable businesses in which the bottom line shows a profit if the numbers don't exactly add up. Then there are those having made their mark in the worldly arena, athletes, entertainers, and prominent business people who don't see their special duty to live by ethical rules. Whether he or she is the chairman of the board, the commanding general, or the manager of a donut shop, the final responsibility to uphold the rules falls on their desk, but they choose to ignore it. There is always the danger that the person at the top may be tempted to foolishly believe that he or she is above the law. Too many leaders disregard and break the rules in their personal relationships and in their own corporate governance. We see it happening in government, in corporations, in academia, and in religious institutions. Without high morals, rules to guide society, the future is in peril. Don't throw away tomorrow. What we desperately need is a truly uplifting book and a truly inspiring person to follow. For me, the Bible is the book, and Jesus Christ is the person. That book and the Lord help me develop the conscience that can guide me from moment to moment. 3 of the world's major faiths, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, are all based on the Ten Commandments, which I call God's way to the good life. My first book was based on these commandments, where I interpreted God's 10 rules in positive terms, not as negative. Oppressive teachings, the 10 Commandments show that people of all faiths can live together when we are committed to civility, kindness, and compassion. The 10 Commandments are designed to support our moral architecture. The commandments are not, however, 10 separate freestanding columns as an ancient Roman courtyard where if you knock one column down, the other 9 remain standing. Rather, they are more like the 10 major stones of a Roman arch. Each one leans carefully against another, all mutually supporting each other to frame the entrance over a pathway that leads to dignity and self-respect. Take out one stone and you risk the collapse of the entire portico. As the 10 Commandments support each other, they in turn protect you. The 7th commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery, is the one most widely talked about in our culture today. It is often ignored, scoffed at, or made fun of, and yet more misery and violence are caused by the breaking of this one commandment than the breaking of all the other 10. Breaking this one, and all too readily you break all 10. Lying, stealing, killing, coveting, your defense against all of these will fracture. The 7th commandment is designed to protect you and me and those we love the most. Our families, determining to play by the rules of your marriage simply makes life easier, more consistent, more harmonious, and even more prosperous and pleasurable. Kobe Bryant's life and career were thrown into turmoil after he was accused of raping a woman. Guilty or not, as a hairdresser reminded my wife, he admitted that he did commit adultery. His conscience, his family, his career, and his reputation suffered horrifically. Casual sex among young people has gained widespread acceptance in our society, but recently studies from secular universities have shown the negative consequences. Researchers at Harvard conducted a long-term study of married couples that lived together before getting married and discovered that the try-it-out-first approach does not work. Couples who live together before marriage have a much higher rate of divorce and disillusionment in their marriage. One of my friends is the NBA All-Star and 3-time world champion Laker AC Green. He recently retired from his winning basketball career, but he still is honored and respected both in the sports world and in society at large. His reputation is spotless, and his faith is a dominant factor in his life. He truly exemplifies a hero status that many young people hold him to, both professionally and personally. He was inducted into the World Sports Humanitarian Hall of Fame for his AC Green Youth Foundation. Founded in 1989, it promotes sexual abstinence among our youth. What a refreshing change. The AC Green Youth Foundation centers on abstinence and working with individuals who are underprivileged. He told me we provide youth basketball camps for free of charge for kids from 10 to 15 years old, and we have curriculum going into middle schools called Game Plan, which teaches the benefits of abstinence and is exciting to play a small part. Well, it's widely known, I said to AC, that you practice abstinence till marriage. Yes, this was his reply. I'm a living example of it. If I can do it in the role that God took me on, traveling throughout the NBA, there's not a teenager that can tell me it's tougher on them. That's for sure, I agreed. Some of the players in basketball have bragged openly about how many affairs they have had. AC nodded his head and continued, when you have a vision, a purpose, and understand your calling, you can do extraordinary things for God. Even in the midst of a peculiar situation, living in the NBA for 20 years was very peculiar. But at the same time, it did not separate me from the goal I had, the burning passion that God put in my heart to install some kind of hope into our future generation, our kids. Reflecting on his example, I mentioned the studies that show that people who abstain from sexual intercourse until marriage have happier marriages. They say the reason is that when they make love to their spouse, the spouse doesn't have to compare with other people in their memory systems. That's exactly right, AC said, his face breaking into a smile. My wife and I experienced that. We've been married 1 year, and we can definitely say it's a good thing to not have comparisons in our memories. But I meet a lot of kids who have already said yes to sex. He went on to explain they have to go through this healing process, which is a forgiving process. It's so much better if you're a virgin when you get married and you have no comparisons. How today's preteens and teens need the AC Green Foundation principles, which are based on the positive faith that is a daily part of AC's life. Reading the Bible and praying is a daily thing. AC said, you have to have your own individual relationship with Jesus Christ. You can't always be at service on Sunday because you can't always get there. In my profession, we are playing almost every Sunday. It's every day a practice or a game. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose in the goals you have. But in the big goal, you're going to always win. Thankfully, abstinence before marriage is gaining popularity among our young people. Several of my grandchildren participated in the True Love Waits program at our church and in their local youth groups in this program, and in others like it. Kids learn that there really is no safe and truly satisfying sex before marriage. They learn the dangers both emotionally and physically of sex outside of the commitment of marriage. They are taught how to stand up and say no to today's secular culture that enforces safe sex. They come to understand that true love waits, and until that day they are committed before God as husband and wife till death do us part. Love that waits is true, satisfying, beautiful love. God designed marriage to be the most intimate of all relationships, where husband and wife become one, not only physically but emotionally, socially, and spiritually. That's what God had in mind when He created loving sex. My wife and I enjoyed well over 50 years of wonderful, happy, fulfilled marriage by establishing successful rules. Here are some practical rules that have worked so well for us. 1. We have a weekly date night, and nothing in our schedule is allowed to conflict with it. We've done this religiously for our entire marriage. Throughout the early years of raising children to now, in our golden years, we've taken walks as a date, sat and had ice cream or dinners together, whatever it takes just to spend quiet, deliberate time alone as a loving couple. We are each other's best friend, and our most intimate conversations are kept between us and not shared with others. We can be honest and open, knowing that what is said won't go elsewhere. We don't allow ourselves to be put in a compromising situation with a member of the opposite sex. That was number 3. I made it a rule in my ministry to never take my female secretary or any other female staff member alone out to lunch, except in an emergency. We will not ride alone with a friend, neighbor, or staff member of the opposite sex. In counseling sessions, I do not sit on the sofa next to a woman, but behind my desk facing her. My wife was one of the first women to work behind the scenes in TV studios in Hollywood. She made it a point to leave the room when conversations became too friendly or too suggestive. She maintained a high level of professionalism and demanded it from others too. Some people might feel that these rules are too restrictive, that they might cramp their freedom. All I can say is that I never regret having lived by these rules for my life and my marriage. I thank God for them. Wayne Gretzky, the famous hockey player, and I were guests of Dennis Washington's on a private plane. We were en route to our homes in Southern California to the East Coast to a meeting of the Horatio Alger Society Association. We were sponsoring Wayne to be the first Canadian inducted as a member of the Horatio Alger. During the 5-hour flight, Wayne and I had a lengthy discussion about our freedom to choose the moral and ethical rules we live by. Wayne Gretzky made an early and strong commitment to follow the example of Jesus Christ in both his personal and professional lives. This meant he rejected with a positive no many immoral, and unethical practices widely and wildly accepted in the modern secular society. At one point he asked me, Dr. Schuller, what do you do and say when you don't approve of someone's lifestyle, but you want to remain friends enough to work with them and not insult or demean them? I advised Wayne to open the dialogue with, I respect you. I like you as a friend, but even as I respect your freedom to choose the rules you decide to follow, I disagree and cannot approve of some of your choices. Then I applauded Wayne for his outstanding moral lifestyle. Stay committed to the higher, nobler values that you choose to shape your character. It helps to explain why you are so successful. A strong moral conscience makes an awesome difference in our personal and professional lives. In short, it creates a psychological environment where emotional wellness evolves. Now, see the difference a power moral conscience makes in our emotional Evolution. Moral conscience is not only a voice that says no, it is also a voice that says let's go. What is moral conscience? Our definition states it is a feeling of obligation to do right and be good. That do right, feel good feeling promotes emotional well-being in a person. Yes, emotional wellness begins with a clear conscience, freedom from guilt. This allows us to live joyously rather than defensively. Then, with a clear conscience, we dare to believe in ourselves. The power of self-esteem and self-confidence delivers a strong, safe, and satisfying ego. Emotional wellness is not possible until we dare to become emotionally open and honest. There is no fear of exposing our true selves and risk being embarrassed by a darker side accidentally revealed, and we are free from the pressures of hypocrisy. Then, spontaneous enthusiasm arises in the emotional wellness that is evolving. Only honest and open persons can be genuinely enthusiastic, for there is no fear of Freudian slips that will reveal secret sins. Emotionally liberated, we spend our energy in positive spontaneity. We listen, we laugh, we love, we trust goodness, and we see it. Then we win friends. Enthusiasm is energy that delivers an appealing personality. Good people are attracted to us and we trust them. Cynicism does not do well in this positive environment. We become enthusiastic communicators and we build happy and healthy relationships. Emotional wellness delivers an exciting life. A moral conscience allows us the freedom to conceive and receive creative ideas. Then, out of the blue becomes a beautiful dream. Believing in ourselves and in the best people, we become powerful possibility thinkers. The conscience is no longer a voice that says only no, it is now a voice that says let's go. Emotional wellness is a reward when we live in the environment of an honorable moral conscience. We are optimistic. We welcome visitors. The sound of a doorbell gives us joy. We are excited when the telephone rings. Now we have the courage to welcome God in our life. The word enthusiasm is born of the Greek word en and theos, translated in God. Immanuel Kant, one of the greatest philosophers of history, declared that his belief in God was based on two realities: the starry heavens above and the moral law within. When we live high, moral, committed lives, we will dare to become believers in a higher power. Now we are motivated and we are ready to face the risks and the rewards of tomorrow. End of chapter 5.